Hi there, I'm Danny Eni from Firepole Marketing, and in this Naked Marketing Audit video, you're going to learn how Inflow Inventory managed to acquire 300,000 customers just giving software away for free without pushing anybody to buy anything. You're also going to learn how they could multiply the size of that customer base with some changes that they could make to their marketing approach. This video is part of the Naked Marketing Audit series in which businesses strip bare their marketing basically and allow everyone to see what they're doing really well so that everyone can learn, and what they could be doing better so everyone can learn too. If you want to see more of these videos, the first step is to get a free copy of my new Naked Marketing Manifesto. It's completely free. You don't even have to opt in with a name or email address. Just go to bit.ly/get-naked and grab your copy. And then inside the manifesto, there's instructions on how you can join the Insiders Club and get access to all these audit videos as they come out, and that's completely free as well. So go ahead and do that. It's already been downloaded and shared over 2,000 times. But in the meantime, let's dive right into the audit and learn something about Inflow Inventory and their marketing.
Everyone, I'm very excited to be here with Matt Kostanecki. Matt, tell me a little bit about what it is that you do.
So I'm the marketing guy for a company located in Toronto here called Archon Systems, Inc. And we basically make inventory software. Our product is Inflow Inventory, and it's used by over 300,000 small businesses around the world.
Cool. So let me ask you the very first question of this audit process, which is, do you know who your ideal customer is? And hopefully the answer is yes, and you can tell us who the ideal customer is.
Well, I mean, we've done surveys, so I mean, I could tell you from the surveys, our average, the average customer has 2 to 5 employees, is typically male and all that, but when it comes down to it, I mean, we want our customer to be someone who's passionate, who's enthusiastic. After they've looked for, inventory solutions online and they haven't found anything, we'd love it for them when they found us to just be ignited and, wow, yeah, this is exactly what we're looking for. And we want to do that to the point where they'll actually go out and obviously tell others about us. An interesting thing about Inflow is that, I mean, we don't have any, like a sales team, we don't have consultants. We kind of let the software sell itself, so to speak. So it's a very different model than what's traditionally used for marketing business software.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, you're in the marketing role, and for the software to sell itself, it still has to get out there in front of people. So I would imagine that you do have a profile of, who is it that you're trying to get in front of beyond just, any and every small business. I mean, not every small business has inventory, right?
No, absolutely. And you're right. So typically it's used mainly by manufacturers, distributors, retail. But interestingly enough, we do have people that use it even for professional services as well too. So it is kind of it's interesting because it's like people don't know that they need it until they find it, right? So I guess that's one of the challenges that we have too. So we have done personas and we have made profiles of specific people, but when it comes down to it, I mean, it seems like it's really whoever's searching for inventory software on Google. I mean, that ends up being our customer, right?
So it's very intent driven in terms of who you're targeting.
Right. So they're looking. They have a problem. They might have been taking track of inventory with pen and paper. They might be using Excel, and it'll get to a point where they're just, this is not working for me. I need something. They don't necessarily know exactly what they're looking for, but we're blessed enough to rank really highly in Google. So a lot of the marketing we do is by inbound means. People find us, and with the software, they hopefully fall in love with us to the point where they go ahead and make the purchase.
I love how Google has grown in power so much that their favor is seen now as an actual blessing.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely.
But you said something that's really interesting that I think it might be a clue to kind of parsing this out. You said that, they've been using pen and paper, they've been using Excel, and they do a search for inventory software. So what that tells me is that your customers are new to the inventory software market. They're not switching from another software, but this is their first exposure to the market. Is that accurate?
I'd say typically, yes.
Okay, so that kind of gives us a sense of because the better we know who exactly the customer is, they land on your website, they're going to see information. It's got to be tailored for them and their needs. Otherwise, they're going to say, maybe not relevant, and they'll go elsewhere. And I've seen a lot of businesses kind of intuitively iterate towards what makes sense without ever consciously kind of playing this out. And it's a very important thing in consciously designing the marketing material. So if it's someone who is, like you said, small business, they're new to inventory software. That says they're not that huge. They're not a giant corporation. Because if they're over a certain scale or they've been in business at a certain scale long enough, they're already going to have some kind of system. Is that accurate?
I would say that's correct. And then once they are, typically when you start with any inventory software, it's a big pain to move to another one, right? So I would say that's accurate, yes.
Okay, so who is the customer that, let's flesh out this, as you said, a persona, for example. Let's flesh out this ideal customer. This is someone, here's what we know about them. They're in manufacturing or distribution or retail, probably, maybe professional services. They've never used inventory software before, but they're starting to look at it. So how much does their business have to have grown in order for this to be a pressing need?
That's a great question. I don't know if there's an actual finite amount. I mean, ideally, obviously, we would love for them to start. I mean, you could open your business tomorrow and start with the inventory software right away.
But most don't, right?
Most don't.
Being an entrepreneur is very much just enough, just in time kind of mentality. Or rather, just a little bit too late, but hopefully I can make it work anyway.
Absolutely, right. And that's just it. People don't know they need it until, oh my God, here's all this paperwork. Well, what do I do now, right? So the length of time for them to get to that point, I mean, I would say it varies on the particular business.
But, is there a range or is there a scale of, how you measure it, whether it's years in business or it's dollars of revenue or it's number of employees or it's number of customers, there's all these different metrics. And I don't know which one is appropriate, but could you find a series of indicators that would say this person is probably right at the threshold where they're really going to need us pretty soon?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I can tell you most, if they're not a solo entrepreneur, most will have between 2 to 5 employees, and that's just like raw statistics from like some surveys we take, right?
Do you do intake surveys when someone signs up? You kind of get a snapshot of what their business looks like.
No, actually, the survey we would send them a newsletter, so completely optional for them to take it. But no, yeah, we don't profile. I mean, we take obviously information really seriously, so we don't actively profile, but we will have volunteer surveys that we do.
And do these surveys go out to all your customers or to an extended newsletter?
It'll go out to customers basically. The one that we did most recently is just customers. Yeah.
Okay, so participation bias notwithstanding, the data is representative.
Right.
Which is great. That's valuable. It's very important to have. And with 300,000 customers, I would expect you've got a wealth of data that you can refer to. It's a huge asset.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about who the customer is and kind of where they are in the development of their business. The next step is, what are you doing to get your ideal customer's attention? You've said that you guys are taking a bit of a more passive role in the sense that Google is delivering the customers.
Right.
Does search represent the majority of your business?
It's definitely a good chunk. We're also on download.com, where I think we rank typically number 1 on download.com as well too for inventory software.
That's also search though, right?
You could consider it search, but there's paid advertising with that. Right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you pay basically more or less per download with them. Whereas with Google, yeah, we just typically we've done PPC in the past, but the organic search traffic, the results it brings are good, right?
Okay, so that's how you're getting in front of them. And are all the terms that you're getting in front of them for basically inventory software related keywords?
Yeah, like stock control, more or less anything to do with inventory software. I mean, obviously we don't have every keyword up there, right? but for the main ones, we're there, which is great. There's a lot of sites as well that, like top 10 reviews, for example, they'll put all of the inventory softwares up against each other and they'll rate us. So we get a lot of traffic from them as well. And there's a bunch of those kind of review and compare sites that we have.
Okay.
And we're listed on.
So we know who the customer is. We know how they're finding you. Tell me a little bit about the needs that they're coming to you to address. I mean, if they're educated, if they know what they need, I need an inventory management software, because if they're educated about this area, they'll know that an inventory management software can solve problems A, B, and C. But like, what are these symptoms? What is the pain that they're experiencing? They're like, I need to solve this, and hopefully this software can do it.
So the interesting part of that is, I mean, every business is so unique that we really have to, and we work really hard to make the software as flexible as possible. And the initial and the most common pains are usually, like, oh, I'm making invoices in Word and I have to do it every time. There's a lot of repetition, right? They see other stores, for example, using barcode scanners and other distribution businesses. I mean, if you're in distribution, barcode scanners is typical, but how do I do that? You can't just do that with Excel or Access or any of the programs you have. So, and obviously Inflow allows you to do that and a lot more. And it seems like, I mean, the software does so much. It's almost hard to pinpoint the top issues that they have, because each customer will have a different pain point when they come looking. Biggest is they want a place to organize everything. If you're in operations, you're an entrepreneur or you're an operations manager, you want to know that everything has a place and you can get to it. So, the biggest thing that we solve is just having that organization, being able to help the small business look professional, with professional invoices, purchase orders. And then on top of that, reporting, which is obviously really important. So they can monitor their cash flow with Inflow Inventory and run reports and share it and whatnot too. So the pain point's different for everyone. And I guess one of the challenges we have is, well, here's what it can all do, but how do we present it in a way that matches what they're exactly looking for?
So can we pause for a second, and I'll share with you some suggestions before we go to the last section here. What I'm hearing is that you've got a really good search intent driven sales infrastructure in place, which is fantastic. It can kind of run almost on autopilot to a certain extent. But there's probably a big opportunity for you to gain a lot more business, not in the short term, not by like ads and suddenly double traffic, but in the medium to long term, by identifying, like having a really thorough profile of, it may be one, it may be several different profiles. There may be, one category for retail, one category for distribution, one category for professional services, etc. But what is the profile of this business owner and this business that the business owner is representing, of course, in terms of their growth, in terms of their development, in terms of the emerging need, and then what else is likely to correlate with that same need. So for example, at the same time that they're likely to need an inventory system, and you'll pardon me for inaccuracies because this is not my area of expertise, but let's say, for example, that at the point that they realize they need an inventory system, they're probably also getting to a scale where they might need a bookkeeping system. Or they might be getting to the scale where they have enough employees that they need to look at a payroll system. And all of these needs are likely to kind of occur at roughly the same time. And there are probably companies that offer these non-competing solutions that have large customer bases that would be interested in learning about the needs of your customers and vice versa. And you can also probably learn from them, well, where do they get in front of those people before they actually discover and articulate the need? Because when they get to the point of saying, I have this problem, I need this kind of software, on the one hand, it's great because they're educated, they're qualified, they're just looking for a solution to buy. But on the other hand, you're competing with whoever else they might find on Google. Whereas if you can get in front of them when you know that the need is occurring and articulate the problems, the symptoms they're experiencing but
before.
they haven't yet, exactly, they haven't connected the dots to say that, well, I need this kind of software to fix my problem. It's just I have this problem, and man, does it suck. And they're just kind of trying to figure out how to get on top of it. You could be the go-to choice. You could kind of short circuit ahead of all the competition. And likewise, by identifying who these personas are and what the different problems and symptoms that they're going to face are, you're probably going to find there won't be just one top issue because your customer base is too varied. But I would guess you could find a top 5 or a top 10 common issues and create those 5 or 10 corresponding paths into your service that are mostly educational. You've got this problem. Let me explain. Let me teach you what it stems from, how it happens. And, at the end of the educational process, here's a software that might help. And that could be articles. It could be a webinar series. It could be any number of things. I mean, how to package the information depends on what the audience is going to want and what's the best way to teach them. But by identifying these emerging pains and kind of positioning yourself as, hey, I have the answer to this, you become the provider of choice at the moment they realize they have a need. So you can probably multiply your sales here.
Right.
And it's always, you should be encouraged because growing a company to have 300,000 customers is huge. That's a really big deal. You deserve a lot of credit for accomplishing that. And I did one of these just the other day with a client of mine, and she was all excited because she's like, I've been doing really great lately, and business has been exploding. Now that I've seen all these areas where I can improve, it's like it can be exponentially even better. That's just huge.
Yeah.
So we've talked about all these ways that we can kind of get people into your funnel. Let's talk about now this process of conversion from their first hearing about you to being a loyal, engaged customer. And this is really a process of escalating commitment and reward. So they hear about you, you give them an opportunity to make a commitment, you exceed their expectations, you give them an opportunity to make a bigger commitment, you keep ratcheting up the relationship in that way. So can you flesh out for us, what does that ladder look like? What do those steps of commitment and reward look like?
Okay, so essentially the biggest commitment we get them to make, or we urge them to make, so to speak, is actually downloading the software. That's where everything, that's where the magic starts once they're on our page. And the way we do it is that the software is actually free. Mm-hmm. So they download. It's not necessarily a trial. It does have limitations and not as many features as, say, the regular or premium edition. But they do get to use it for as long as they need to. So, for example, like we were talking earlier, like when do they start off? Even if they start off and they download the free edition, they could use the free edition for like a year, for even longer, and that kind of warms them up to the features that are available in the regular and premium. And what we hope that happens when they start using the free edition. We're a very design-centric company as well too. So when we actually create the software, it's not the typical really boring and stale kind of business software that most people are used to. Mm-hmm. What we find is that the customer is pleasantly surprised with just how intuitive and easy to use it is. I mean, everybody says their software is easy to use, but I mean, we try to take it to the next level.
Everyone says their software is easy to use, but not everyone has 300,000 customers, right?
Right. No, absolutely. Right. And a lot of other businesses have to have those consultants mm-hmm. and high pressure to make, to make it work. Where with us, we try to let the software sell itself. And the stance we kind of put on it is, try it out. If you love it and you feel it's right for you, go for it. If not, we're happy to recommend something else if it's not a fit for your business. Right. And that I would say is the major point of bringing them into the engagement for us.
It sounds great. I mean, once they find you, and you can get more people to find you. We talked about that, but once they find you, they see your software and they see it's free. It's not a free trial, and I think that's really important because, as you kind of implied earlier, once you've got all your data into a system, it's a real pain to switch into a different one. So saying I'll try it for 30 days and I don't know, it's like it feels like a big risk. So right. It's free, no strings, don't worry is it really makes it a lot easier to take that chance. So they find you, they download the software, they make that little commitment, they hit install. I would imagine that then they open up the software, they see it, and this next commitment is the commitment of their time and energy to actually start plugging in all their information.
Absolutely, yeah.
And what I'm hearing is that you've created this really intuitive, easy user experience that kind of mitigates the fear of that commitment. It's like, look, the software makes it easy. It makes it intuitive. You're not going to have to look through 100 windows to figure out how it all works. So
Right.
it lessens that commitment. So they take the chance and they plug in their information, and it makes their life better and it makes their life easier, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So how do you encourage them to make that next commitment of upgrading to a paid version?
So within the software, obviously and just to touch on your point earlier too, like even though it is a big pain, if you start with all your information, we make it freely available so they can take their information out too. So whatever they do in Inflow, they can take it out with CSV. It's not a big deal.
That's very important. That makes it a lot easier for them to say, okay, I'll try putting all my stuff in here.
Exactly. It's not like we lock your data and it's ours and you can't get it back until you pay us. Nothing like
It's like you hold their data for ransom as a hostage.
exactly no, yeah. So yeah, the next commitment steps. Yeah, we make it easy for them to put in their information and sorry, I lost my train of thought there. We
Okay, so they make it easy. You make it easy for them to put in their information. They start using the software, so that's like, they get the result. That's the reward. And then you want to ask them for another commitment. This is the critical commitment of pull out your wallet. So
right.
talk to
So
me about that transition.
right. So within the software, obviously they're going to be clicking around and they'll see some features that they can only get on the regular or the premium edition. And then that'll prompt them to do an upgrade. There's also the availability of a free trial, a 30-day trial of the regular or premium edition into the software as well too.
Mm-hmm.
So if there is something that they want to test out with the regular edition, they can go ahead and try it out and see if they like it. We actually don't even require like an email address to start the software. There is an optional opt-in, but it's not required by any means to do it. So those that do opt in with their email, we will send out, instead of the typical automated email with like, hey, why haven't you purchased yet? It's more, we're trying to be helpful. We'll actually send you an email just with a bunch of links to really helpful and useful stuff that the typical business owner would want to get to doing right away. So how do I import my existing inventory, and basically how to ease the burden of getting started with something brand new.
Awesome. It sounds like you guys have done a fantastic job of, in marketing speak, optimizing the funnel from the point that they find you, and in, normal human being speak, taking good care of your customers.
Yeah.
And that sounds wonderful. Like what it sounds to me from this entire conversation is that you could probably do a better job of getting more people to find you before they start explicitly looking. But once they find you, you're doing a fantastic job. I would imagine your numbers are very good because you've made all those commitments very easy. You reward them substantially for making those commitments, and that's the foundation for a good relationship. I want to ask you one last question before we wrap this up. You guys have been in business for a while. You've been, you started at 0 customers and you grew to 300,000. You must have learned some good stuff along the way. And I'm sure many of the things that you've learned are present and quite visible in the wonderful user experience that you create for your customers today. If you could go back in time a couple years, give the Matt of 2 years ago some advice and say, look, over the next 2 years, you're going to learn this. It would be a lot cheaper and easier if you just knew it right now. What would you tell Matt of 2 years ago?
Always think long term, and one of the models we have of our company is people over profits.
Mm-hmm.
So if you take care of your employees, obviously, and I mean, it sounds very, very typical, and you hear this a lot, but it really comes true. So if you take care of your employees, you take care of your customers, everything else falls into place. And,
Awesome.
And we've had customers, send us gifts, like random stuff, and I mean that reinforces that you're doing a great, you're doing a great job, and you're taking care of them. So that's what I would say. Always put people before profits.
That's fantastic, and it's one of those lessons that too many people learn it way too late, or they never learn it, and they're just like, business is hard, and you can't trust people, and you feel like shaking them, being like, no, it's because you're being an asshole to everyone, and so nobody wants to work with you.
You have to trust them first. You can't.
Exactly, yeah. Well, Matt, thank you very much for taking the time to do this. I want to encourage everyone who is watching this video. You've just heard a bit of a sample of the value that Matt and his company offer to their customers. If you think that you might have need of the inventory management software that he's described, you want to taste this fantastic user experience that you've heard about, where can they go to find it?
Yeah, so just inflowinventory.com. And if you want to know more about our company and what we're up to, it's archonsystems.com.
Mm-hmm. And it's a free trial with no strings. It's a free, rather not a free trial, it's a free software. So
it's free software. There's some limitations, but I mean, it's if you're a small business and you have anything to do with inventory, you just want to check it out, give it a go.
Awesome, Matt. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And there you have it, a behind-the-scenes look at the marketing of Inflow Inventory. I hope you found this video as valuable and enjoyable as I found making it. I thoroughly enjoyed and got a lot out of the process. I want to remind you that this video is part of the Naked Marketing Audit series, in which multiple businesses, they're all show you what they're doing well, show you what they're doing not as well, also that you can learn. You can get this whole series for free in addition to the Naked Marketing Manifesto that explains the framework underlying all this at bit.ly/get-naked. Just go grab your copy. You don't even need to opt in with a name or email address, and get access to all this wonderful material that hopefully will be very helpful to you as well. Join the thousands of people who've already downloaded and shared. I hope this video has been valuable to you, and I wish you the best of continued success with your own business. Let's dive right into the audit and learn something about Inflow Inventory and their marketing.
Everyone, I'm very excited to be here with Matt Kostanecki. Matt, tell me a little bit about what it is that you do.
So I'm the marketing guy for a company located in Toronto here called Archon Systems, Inc. And we basically make inventory software. Our product is Inflow Inventory, and it's used by over 300,000 small businesses around the world.
Cool. So let me ask you the very first question of this.
Well, so that everyone can learn, and what they could be doing better so everyone can learn too. If you want to see more of these videos, the first step is to get a free copy of my new Naked Marketing Manifesto. It's completely free. You don't even have to opt in with a name or email address. Just go to bit.ly/get-naked and grab your copy. And then inside the manifesto, there's instructions on how you can join the Insiders Club and get access to all these audit videos as they come out, and that's completely free as well. So go ahead and do that. It's already been downloaded and shared over 2,000 times. But in the meantime,
when they found us to just be ignited and, wow, yeah, this is exactly what we're looking for. And we want to do that to the point where they'll actually go out and obviously tell others about us. An interesting thing about Inflow is that, I mean, we don't have any, like a sales team. We don't have consultants. We kind of let the software sell itself, so to speak. So it's a very different model than what's traditionally used for marketing business software.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, you're in the marketing role.
Hi there. I'm Danny Eni from Firepole Marketing, and in this Naked Marketing Audit video, you're going to learn how Inflow Inventory managed to acquire 300,000 customers just giving software away for free without pushing anybody to buy anything. You're also going to learn how they could multiply the size of that customer base with some changes that they could make to their marketing approach. This video is part of the Naked Marketing Audit series, in which businesses strip bare their marketing basically and allow everyone to see what they're doing really.
Audit process, which is, do you know who your ideal customer is? And hopefully the answer is yes, and you can tell us who the ideal customer is.
Well, I mean, we've done surveys, so I mean, I could tell you from the surveys, our average, the average customer has 2 to 5 employees, is typically male and all that. But when it comes down to it, I mean, we want our customer to be someone who's passionate, who's enthusiastic. After they've looked for, inventory solutions online and they haven't found anything, we'd love it for them